Hello, Plotagonists, and welcome to the latest community conversation, where we interview members of our community who are doing cool, unique things with Plotagon. You may recognize Dale Husband as an active member of the Plotagon community. From his long-running Debbie and Carrie show, to spin-offs of it like The Hudson Family Show and Growlock and Pellabong, to his personal musings as Dale Husband, the Honorable Skeptic, Dale infuses messages promoting social change and improvement in nearly everything he posts. Doing so while also creating entertaining and engaging content can be a delicate balance, so we're sitting down to chat with him about his process in this episode of Plotagon Community Conversations. We'll be covering some tough topics, so if things like mentions of suicide, discussions of religious trauma, or dealing with bigotry would be triggering for you, I ask you to please take care of yourself. If that means you need to skip this community conversations right now, that is okay, as we are decidedly pro-self-care. And with that said, on to the show. Welcome, Dale Husband.
Thank you, Helena. It is an honor to be here.
Dale, can you first tell us about how you discovered Plotagon?
I run a blog called Dale Husband's Intellectual Rants. In March of 2021, I made a blog entry in which I introduced Debbie and her mother having a conversation. This was in response to a video I had seen on YouTube called One Man, One Woman, made by the Watchtower, the leaders of the Jehovah's Witnesses. That video was teaching kids to be homophobic, and it got a very bad reaction from many, including me. Then the following month, I discovered a YouTube channel titled the JW Chronicles, featuring dozens of videos slamming the Watchtower and its followers. And I learned that Plotagon had been used to make those videos. I googled the name Plotagon, found the company website, downloaded the version of Plotagon Studio for desktop computers, and looked inside. And then at the end of April, a video version of the blog entry I made the previous month was released. It got a huge positive reaction from others, so that inspired me to make more videos with Plotagon. It soon became a total addiction, and within a year my YouTube channel was completely transformed.
Cool. And what inspired you to create video content aimed at promoting social change?
I've been concerned for a long time about the state of the United States and its people, and I think the election of Donald Trump to the presidency in 2016 was a massive wake-up call for many of us that corruption and bigotry are a serious threat to us. Making the Debbie and Carrie show was my way of saying, enough. I will stand up to this problem and tolerate it no more. Indeed, this is not just an American problem. Corruption and bigotry are worldwide issues concerning human nature itself. Everyone in the world can learn lessons from my works.
And how do you choose the social issues that you want to highlight in your videos?
A lot of my issues stem directly from the 7 principles of my religion, Unitarian Universalism. I understand that specific references to my religion are outside the scope of this interview, but anyone may contact me with questions later. Everything I do in the Debbie and Carrie show is intended to teach a lesson in ethics, even if the lesson is not obvious. To me, everything in the world is linked to everything else. You cannot separate feminism from LGBT rights, or separate environmental issues from the struggle for racial justice. We are all one world, period. What helps a worthy cause should have the potential to help everything, and everyone, else. Help, not harm. There are lots of causes and policies that do harm people, and we must oppose them as much as possible.
Help, not harm. What a great outlook. So then how do you balance storytelling with the need to communicate a specific social message?
I can sometimes teach lessons simply by having 2 or more characters have a normal conversation, and so the lesson is not forced on the scene, appearing out of place. It is not enough for me to merely tell people not to be racist or homophobic or bigoted in some other way. I also show what happens to the bigots. Actions do have consequences.
Do you incorporate real stories or people affected by the issues you cover in your videos? If so, how do you approach that?
I will share one example. Lucy Sims, one of the 5 central characters of the Debbie and Carrie show, is an ex-Jehovah's Witness. I actually made an episode of her reacting to a mass shooting in Germany of a group of Jehovah's Witnesses. She realizes she could have been targeted in such a shooting as a child. Then she also understands that she could also have been targeted as a black person, a lesbian or an atheist by another sort of domestic terrorist. Violence is violence. Bigotry is bigotry. It must all be condemned and opposed, period.
How do you measure the impact of your videos on the social issues you address?
With a few exceptions, I don't usually get a lot of responses to my works. I don't create my stories expecting them to be popular. But it is my hope that, if one person sees a story I made and feels as a result that they can make a positive difference, then my efforts are justified. Speaking of that, here is a Debbie and Carrie movie I consider to be the best I have ever made, Sandy's War on Corruption.
What are the biggest challenges you face when creating content that addresses sensitive or controversial topics?
We must always remember that the issues we address affect people, and it is the welfare of those people that matter. As long as I treat the Plotagon character models I use as if they are real flesh and blood people, my messages make sense. I have a profound sense of empathy that drives me to do certain stories. An example is Carrie the Survivor, in which Carrie Sims has survived a suicide attempt and must rebuild her self-esteem. I hope it appeals to others that may be troubled and need help.
Have you encountered resistance or pushback from audiences or organizations? How do you deal with that?
I have gotten quite a few comments slamming my works. I usually do not respond directly to them, because feeding trolls only makes them attack you more. I do like to show those comments so others can see for themselves how shallow my critics tend to be, though. I did get an actual threat as a comment on a Debbie and Carrie movie you may know about, because it premiered on my birthday this year. Needless to say, I banned that creep from my channel.
Yeah, sometimes the block feature is the best way to handle those who are trying to start drama. What advice would you give to aspiring content creators who want to use their platforms for social change?
No matter how badly you feel about a topic, you must never depict people as crude stereotypes for the sake of making fun of them. That's itself an expression of bigotry. That's why I dislike most forms of satire. It's easy to mock those you hate. The real challenge is to keep everything realistic.
Satire can definitely need a deft hand to get a message across. How do you think the role of video in social movements will evolve in the next few years?
I certainly hope that more people will use apps like Plotagon to make stories that are superior to a lot of the mindless stuff we often see on TV, even if the videos look cheap. Substance should be more important than style. Indeed, I think in another decade or so, YouTube and other such video sharing sites will completely replace television stations as the main source of visual entertainment. People should no longer be content to be spoon-fed entertainment. With Plotagon and other such animation apps, the people can take control.
Well said, Dale. Thanks so much for sitting down with us to share your process.